this is a fun way to introduce this early in our reading series to listeners who may just use metaphysics whenever they want to say spooky shit. Metaphysics includes spooky shit, but the example I was thinking of on the way over here is like a bowling ball dropped from height and the forces involved. So if you're doing physics, you think about objects in relation to forces and the gravity and the friction acting on it and the atmospheric pressure, and you try to calculate the speed. Whereas if you want to do metaphysics, you have to think about what are forces at all, where do they come from, is there any sorts of grounds of movement, why is there movement? And then before you get to bowling ball, you have to have objects and matter. And so what is object? From whence does it derive? Things like not just causes, but what are causes? What is the first cause? This sort of thing. And so what we're looking at here is one explanation of metaphysics that, you're right, puts force primary over object. It says in chapter 1, unmanifested it is the father of heaven and earth, and manifested it is their mother. And I take it that the reason it mentions the father first is because it thinks of the unmanifested as primary being before the manifested. Not primary, but earlier somehow, and that the manifestation comes out of this unmanifested force. Yeah, so I think that's right. Was there anything else you wanted to say about the introduction? I think I had 3 things that I wanted to say, but I've forgotten what the third one is.
Well, there was we were talking about the, we covered the first of the 3 definitions, Western definitions of the Tao that Crowley refers to. The second one was reason. Am I not mistaken?
Am I not mistaken? Reason's the first. We covered the way, which is the second, and to on is the third. So, say something about reason.
Reason. Just to clarify, can we read that little portion that...
Of course we can. The Tao is reason in this sense, that the substance of things may be in part apprehended as being that necessary relation between the elements of thought which determines the laws of reason. In other words, the reality is that which compels us to connect the various forms of illusion as we do. And since we're not assuming that listeners have come in with the reading prepared, I should go to this one part again. The substance of things is the necessary relation between the elements of thought which determine the laws of reason. So the substance just is the elements of thought.
Yeah, it's a difficult one for me to wrap my head around. I've been over that paragraph a few times trying to suss out exactly what that's trying to convey in terms of what substance and how that... Basically, it's a it's a bit of a difficult one to chew on, at least for me.
We can go to Kant because we know Crowley wants AA people to read Kant, and there's something about the way there's things in themselves which are ineffable except that they convey sense impressions, and then our sense impressions are subsumed under our instincts of space and time, and then the space and then those things through our filter of space and time, which are not instincts, they're called faculties of space and time, and then are subsumed under special concepts. And special concepts are things like extension and limitation and these things that we already assume that are sort of built into our makeup as being modes of perception. Like our understanding, our spatial awareness, for example, is fundamental. And these are seen as being special concepts that are just part of the human makeup. And so we can see that this idea of reason is something to do with a universe that creates human beings that have these particular perceiving faculties. So the reality is related to the epistemology, but then we're committing the crime of Europeanizing things, which is the whole point of this text to start with, is to avoid Europeanizing
things. Yeah, for me, like as far as that goes, the way I was conceptualizing this is ironically related directly to conceptualization and the way that the mind works regarding conceptualization, and the difficulty in apprehending the Tao and what the Tao is comes from the fact that we have only our minds which conceptualize things to work with. And the problem being that no matter what we come up with, we have a conceptualization. We don't have the Tao. So the Tao being that which is underneath the underlying reality to things. At least this is one way that I've been looking at it. And this is just playing with it. So this is not me describing what it actually is or anything like that.
No, but I think that sounds right. This idea of like conceiving itself being the clue, and then the Tao being necessarily ineffable. There's something workable there.
Darkly Splendid Abodes. Released at midnight on the first and third Fridays each month. And available on Spotify and various other streaming services.